taps on education as priority in enhancing the nation's economy.
Federal government regulates broadcast industry.
Buhari Media Organization condemns false claims and fight against insurgency.
On Good Morning Nigeria this Friday, our focus is on tracking the achievements in the health sector.
Now, in November 2019, a 78-member team of Nigerian medical doctors as well as other specialists successfully operated on and separated a set of co-joined twins at the National Hospital, Abuja.
Yes, indeed, Rhoda. According to the information, the team worked from 2 operating theaters of the hospital for about 13 hours, and the twins joined the chest and abdomen. We're giving a new lease through the successful surgery.
Now, the co-joined twins toddlers Mercy and Goodness Edes surgery is the first of its kind to be undertaken by the nation's specialist hospital. So, therefore, so much elation. There's so much elation to this.
Exactly, Rhoda, for a nation whose healthcare delivery had hitherto come under harsh bashing and heavy criticisms for not getting its act together, it is certainly in order to blow the trumpet on this particular development.
Of course, Kieran. Not just on the co-joined twin separation, other success stories from open heart surgeries as well as other feats in healthcare deliveries across the nation in recent times sure gladdens the heart.
Now, while the issue of a dearth of personnel and critical health infrastructure still dots the landscape, there's no gainsaying the fact that given the right environment, the Nigerian health professionals can stand on their own anywhere and, of course, anytime.
Well, right environment certainly will curb the brain drain syndrome, the huge medical tourism to other nations of the world, saving cost and expertise retained for greater development.
Yes, indeed. And how do we improve on these health narratives and breakthroughs? How do we get the health institutions fully functional at different cadres? And what vistas will all these be opening for the nation's healthcare going into the decade?
Answers to these and more will be provided shortly on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rhoda Anon. We're broadcasting live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority from our studios here in Abuja.
And I am Kieran Umai, of course, joining Rhoda to welcome you to this particular edition of the program. We're reaching actually from the capital city of Nigeria. There are also companion segments as usual, which will include newspaper review, business, sports, and of course entertainment, all coming your way in the course of this presentation. But first, let's take the morning news with Chimaobi Waternaje. Hello, Chimaobi.
Hello, Kieran and Rhoda. It's good to see you this morning. Good morning, Nigeria, and here is the morning news. The federal government says education will henceforth be accorded topmost priority, especially through the provision of infrastructure and capacity building in the nation's universities so as to produce quality graduates for the nation building. President Buhari, who made this known while receiving the leadership of Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, said effective and efficient operations of universities will go a long way to its enhancing the nation's economy, especially with focus on science and technology.
In organizing the universities and making them credible by putting proper infrastructure and getting qualified staff. We'll make sure of the standards and the resources to be made available too, so that our qualifications are credible, not only in Nigeria but all over the world.
And on ICT, President Muhammadu Buhari says the adoption of information and communication technology in public service delivery in the country is no longer a luxury but a pressing necessity. The president stated this while granting audience to the executive members of the various information technology professionals groups in Nigeria on a solidarity visit.
Indeed, our strategy for inclusive economic growth can only be achieved by leveraging the technology tools available to us. Already, we have seen the benefits of using technological tools to fight corruption and reduce leakages and inefficiencies in public service delivery. For us, technology in public service delivery is no longer a luxury. I therefore request that you all continue to partner with government at all levels to ensure the benefits of this tool is realized and at the same time its threats are eliminated.
Now, similarly, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has directed the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) to immediately implement measures aimed at repositioning the broadcast industry with a view to bringing sanity into the sector. Now, this was contained in a statement by the Information and Culture side by his Special Assistant on Media, Shegu Adeyemi. Now, Nigeria is benefiting immensely from the activities of the Niger Basin Authority. This was disclosed by the Ministry of Water Resources at a workshop for revitalizing the River Basin Authority network of journalists and communicators in Nigeria.
We've got the intervention to rehabilitate Kainji and Jeba dams in Nigeria. Through that intervention, we've been able to add about 340 megawatts to the national grid.
We can count on his support to enhance NBA's performance and realize our common development ideals for the benefit of the 160 million people living in the Niger Basin.
Now, the Plateau State Governor, Simon Lalong, has visited the area of Atag in Kombum village of Mangi to commiserate with the people over the unfortunate incident, promising that security agencies are on top of the situation to fish out the attackers.
Come here first to commiserate with you, those who lost your loved ones. We are already here, that means the security is here, they will remain here. And as we go back, we will continue to find out the reasons and those who are responsible. You know, we don't joke with them. If we catch you irresponsible, we keep you where you are.
In other stories, the Buhari Media Organization has rejected and showed concern over statements by a South African military contractor on fighting insurgency in the northeast. The media organization in a statement says Colonel Ibn Balo, a military hardware contractor, may be deeply frustrated and profoundly displeased because the multi-million-dollar security contract awarded to his company by previous administration to provide machinery to fight Boko Haram was terminated by the Buhari administration on assumption of office. BMO argued that these guns-for-hire elements can never erase the huge strides made by the Nigerian security agencies in consistently defeating the insurgents in scores of battles and freeing thousands of Nigerians held by the insurgents and protecting the territorial integrity of the country. Now, the long-anticipated Western Nigeria Security Network, code-named Operation Ametokun, has been inaugurated in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, with the aim of providing adequate security for the southwest region as a complement to the statutory security provided by Nigerian security agencies.
At the regional level, will serve as effective complements to the security architecture that may be put in place by the federal government.
Amotekun is a complement that gives our people confidence that they are being looked after.
We are coming together to fight a common enemy. The enemies are the elements among us and their affiliates who are determined to cause commotion within the borders of our state and threaten our peaceful coexistence.
Now, with few days to the commencement of the registration for 2020 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination and direct entry by would-be candidates, the head office of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSE, is witnessing an upsurge of candidates who want to sit for the examination.
Face the difficulty today, we are sentencing these boys and girls to a future that will be bleaker than our own.
In the spirit of the collaboration, we have given instruction that priority should be given strictly to JAM and direct entry students who will be writing examination to register in all our enrollment centers. We had to also sit and provide contingency plans to address this upsurge.
What we did is to sit down and map these centers so that applicants will be moved from the JAM offices to the nearest NIMSE offices.
Now, that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kieran and Rhoda just after the break. Stay with us.
You're welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. The tomato business in Nigeria is one that cuts across ethnic, religious, or geographical divide, as the product is moved all over the country by businessmen to supply areas where it is in short supply. Abdulkarim Zurum looks into the challenges faced by sellers of tomato produce. Next, with our business news.
The tomato business in Nigeria is one that cuts across ethnic, religious, and geographical divide, as the product is moved all over the country by businessmen to supply areas where it is in short supply. At the Orange Market, Mararaba, it is obviously a booming business, as can be seen with the number of buyers trooping into the market to make purchase. However, it doesn't come without its own challenges. Like every business such as this, there are seasons that are more difficult than others, with low turnout of customers and products alike.
Right now, the problem that we are facing is about the buyers. The buyers are not used to coming out and buying. Sometimes you can see challenging that you buy 5,000, at least it will be lost to be sell it 4,500, 4,700. Instead of you that you buy 5,000 to sell it 5,500, that you got your own. Then actually, you'll be beginning to sell it 4,500. That is a loss.
And now let's go to the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to see how the market fared on Thursday, 9th of January, 2020. With business news, Abdulkarim Zurmi.
Thank you, Abdulkarim. Next is newspaper review.
Otto Bose is here this morning to give more insight into our review. Bayo, good morning.
Thank you, Rhoda. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Bayo. Welcome.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Kieran, let's begin with the Nigerian Punch. That's the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, you have it there above the nameplate. It says, Customs generate 1.34 trillion naira, surpasses revenue targets by 403 billion naira. That's on page 37. Banks deposit with CBN hits 3.17 trillion naira in 9 months. That's on page 27 also. There's a business stories. Amotekun starts on shaky ground. 3 governors absent from lunch. That's on page 2. Embrace IPPIS. Buhari urges ASU promises better funding. That's on page 9 of the Punch. Now let's go to the lead story this morning, and it's on the National Identity Card Registration. Bribery thieves in NIMSE. Officials flees UTME candidates and others. That's on page 2. That's the lead story for the Punch newspaper. Bribery Bribery thrives in NIMC. Officials flees UTME candidates and others. That's on page 2. With some riders there, exam fraud syndicates behind hitches at NIN Center, says JAMB. Commission blames Nigerians for last-minute rush for exercise. Those are the two riders for the lead story. Now, let's go down to below the picture story. You'd see there 515 million naira spent to evacuate thugs from Maiduguri streets, said Zulum. That's on page 17. Kaduna, $600 million steel plant will employ 3,000 Nigerians, says Minister. That's on page 33. Minimum wage, TUC gives states January 31st ultimatum. That's on page 30. No intention to withdraw charges against El Zagzaki, says Kaduna State. That's on page 12. Family Keeks has rejected 10-year-old dies at Habut. That's on page 8. And cattle thieves clash with youths, kill 12 in Plateau villages. That's on page 10. Likely those are the stories that are trending on the front page of the Punch this morning. When you, of course, no more, grab a copy.
All right, now let's go to leadership newspaper for this Friday, from top to bottom. And the first could be gunmen kill 13 in Plateau, abduct 4 in Kaduna Seminary. That's on page 19. The bold headline on the leadership newspaper this morning is ASU loses IPPIS battle as PMB directs union to enroll. With a rider to that, policy will be disruptive, says ASU. The full story is on page 4 of the leadership newspaper. That TUC gives governors 21-day ultimatum on minimum wage. That's another story trending. The details can be found on page 5 of the newspaper. Now, at the bottom of the leadership newspaper, Customs makes 1.3 trillion naira in 2019 as border closure jacks up revenue to 7 billion naira daily. It's a striking story. It's on page 15. The presidency bombs PDP, says party biggest obstacle to good governance. It's on page 5 of leadership newspaper. Let's bring in Bayo now for the analysis of the stories we have.
Thank you, Kirian. Yeah, yesterday the Academic Staff Union had audience with Mr. President, and representing government were the ministers for education, finance, labor and information. The Minister of Finance briefed the meeting that so far 96,090 lecturers of the federal universities have enrolled on the IPPIS, and only 30% of the 137,016 lecturers in the federal universities were still opposing the IP system. And he emphasized and pointed out the optimum Academic Staff Union enjoyed was that the remaining 40,926 members should comply and enroll. Some of the benefits that the minister highlighted include that the university structure and autonomy will not be affected. And it has also been discovered that some workers in the university were earning double pay, more than in one university. There were also contract staff who were on the payroll of government. Another discovery was that tax deduction on pay-as-you-earn system were not remitted, and then there was also multiple of employments. The Academic Staff Union was led by Professor Biodun Ogunyemi, and he expressed surprise about the statistics that were presented to him, and he was saying that governing visitors initiative to universities, which was once every 5 years, was still the best means of monitoring and ensuring accountability at the university. He says that it is a matter of concern that the integrated personal accounting system is external to the university process, and IPs will be an intrusion into the university system, and that is why they have introduced what they call UTAS, University Tertiary Academic Accounting Support System. In the statement, the presidency says that the president promised increased funding as a means of enhancing quality education and credible certificates of the output of our universities, adding that this is the point for identification and validation of human resources in all universities, and that is the essence of the initiative of IPES. By Monday, candidates who are to sit in the UTME, University Tertiary Matriculation Examination, will have to commence registration. Reports by papers indicate, especially Punch, indicates that candidates are required to have national identification number, and registering is freighted with bribes and fleecing of candidates. Touts are alleged to be colluding with some officials to extort money from candidates. There's a report from Mosa in Abeokuta where such practices are happening. There's also a report from Nasarawa State where it is also stated that unless you grease the palms of officials, you don't get registered. At Lafia, a candidate reported that after staying on the queue for 3 hours, he was not able to register, but when they paid 1,000 naira, they got registered. A candidate at Gombe registration says that he woke up in the morning and was there on the queue for a long time, but when you give them money, you get registered very quickly. In Bauchi, there is a challenge. The challenge there is a network problem, and it is attributed to the weather. They've not been able to register. So that is the challenge now. You can't register for the UTME, and registration commences on Monday. And JAM has been specific. Unless you have registration of national identification number, you may not be allowed to register for the UTME.
Well, in all of this, corruption is playing out as at lower levels, because for one to pay money to get registered is uncalled for in the first instance. And the insistence of JAM that one must have that, before registering. Why come now? Why not? This should have been announced about a year ago or thereabouts, so that people will have the opportunity of registering, because it's not really, it's a complex process. The way you get registered and get, before your UTME, right? So, making it difficult for these students doesn't augur well for the education sector, because you can see what is happening now, and the result might be that many may not get registered after all, those who are eligible to take that exam.
That's what I was actually going to carry on that, a lot of people might not get registered, and so JAM should from now begin to put modalities in place for people who might not be able to register with NIMC, but they should be able to take that exams, because with the rush and the very short time that they have to register, it's almost impossible for everyone who wants to,
Yes, the policy came into effect on 17th of October or thereabouts. And ironically, JAM put that in place to check corruption. Candidates, what do you call them? Fake candidates coming in to sit examination for others. They want to be sure that the candidates who sit the exam are the real candidates. And ironically, when they go to register, NIMC is saying that its officials are not involved, but apparently touts are masquerading around there and colluding with some of the officials to extort money from candidates so that they can get registered.
It's an opportunity for business. Now, the other story on ASU losing IPPS battle, what is not clear yet is whether ASU has finally accepted to enroll in the IPPIS, or whether they still want to push further, towards ensuring that they do not do that. But some percentage of ASU members have already enrolled. So what do you think will play out?
Well, the meeting there was at the instance of the Academic Staff Union to meet with Mr. President. And when you come to Georgia, everybody will be given the opportunity. The side of the government made presentation indicating that only 30% of ASU members so far have not registered, and they are encouraging them to come and register. And they also gave them assurances that they are concerned about university autonomy will not be affected, because the accounting department of the university will still retain their autonomy while still using the IPPIS system. Furthermore, the peculiarities of the university system, the various levels of visiting professors and other payments has been accommodated by the IPPIS. But again, joint is better than staying at distance and throwing words at one another. And it is hoped that because they met yesterday, some of the gap that is existed between government and academic staff union will be narrowed, and sometime very soon we will have some consensus. But academic staff union still insisted that they felt that that was an encroachment onto the autonomy.
Why this statement by us that policy will be disruptive?
They are saying that taking them to IPPIS is taking the university back to the civil service system, for which they want to completely stay away. And that is why they said if government wants an accounting system, they have introduced one they call University Tertiary Accounting Support System. Although it is still in the works, it is not coming to fruition, and they want there to be. But the question is, can you tell an employer how he should conduct the process of effecting payment for you? And ASU argues that there's no law backing IPs, and it is in violation of the act establishing the university. So those are the two sides of the argument.
All right, Bayo, let's quickly take our editorial this morning. And our editorial is also on the university system. It's on the Daily Sun. It's reading the university system of fake professors, reading the university system of fake professors. The revelations that there are about 100 fake professors in some of the nation's universities does not speak well of the recruitment and promotion process in the affected universities. But the editorial, I think, basically is just saying that, you know, there should be a more rigorous vetting process for those who want to be employed. Promotion process should be more transparent, and those who may have aided, you know, and abated recruitment or promotion of unfit varsity teachers should be fished out and punished.
Actually, talking about professors now, currently 18 professors are being screened to qualify to be selected as Vice Chancellor for the Ahmadu Bello University. The current VC, his term is expiring in April. And out of the eight of them had applied, one has withdrawn. And the Governing Council of the University also sought for 10 other professors with the aim of getting the best. But this issue about fake professors came from the portal of the National Universities Commission. They asked all professors to upload their details, and the NUC found that 18 professors, persons who claim to be professors in the academic circles, are not professors. Therefore, they are fake professors. You have instances of fake news. You have instances of fake products. Now you are having the fake professors in our academic universities. And that is very, very dangerous, because the procedure for becoming a professor is, it requires that you publish some academic papers at the national and international level. And you have to go through those processes before you are acknowledged as a professor. I remember the former executive secretary of the National Universities Commission had to come and challenge an advertisement when somebody had an advertisement promoting that he was going to be given an honorary professorship. That is the extent to which the system has been bastardized.
Is there anything like a professor, honorary professor?
Yes, the executive secretary had to come and challenge that there's nothing like an honorary professorship, and that advertisement had to be stopped. So the editorial is now saying that the National Universities Commission that supervises the university should follow through and make sure that those fake professors are brought to book.
Well, when we talk about corruption, it's just everywhere. It's eating into the fabrics of society, and in fact in all sectors of our national life. Because for you to find such a grave development in our academic sector, then of course something is wrong somewhere. But at this point, we'd like to appreciate your analysis this morning.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for coming. We will see you again on Monday. All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And well, of course, today we are dealing with the successes recorded in the health sector. When we return, the program will begin proper.
You're welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're live on the network service of the NTA from Abuja. Here is a background report that will lay the foundation for our discussion this morning on the achievements in the health sector so far. It's been put together by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
For a long time, many have believed that to survive of any major health challenge, medical tourism abroad is the solution. The reason is not far-fetched, as the lack of human resource for health, poor infrastructure, unavailability of specialists, just to mention a few, are some of the pointers for lack of faith on the Nigerian health system. However, the narrative is gradually changing in recent years as the present administration is working hard to provide necessary infrastructure to handle major health challenges in the country in collaboration with the private sector. While these efforts can be said to be yielding results with the successful first open heart surgery carried out at the Alliance Hospital in Abuja in 2015, other breakthroughs were also recorded in the sector in various health institutions. But the most recent, which had attracted much attention, is the successful separation of conjoined twins carried out at the National Hospital, Abuja. Baby's goodness and mercy were joined at the chest and abdomen, making the surgery quite challenging and dangerous. But the success had changed the narrative about the Nigerian health sector, which attracted world attention.
To encourage other hospitals to actually show more commitment to be able to bring their teams to work together to cooperate. We did not count the cost until we are finished. We are still counting the cost.
This feat attests to the fact that Nigerian health sector is developing by the day, and the rush for medical tourism abroad might not just be necessary anymore. The questions yearning for answers include: are Nigerians still doubting the capability of the nation's health personnel? What areas should be given more priority to enhance the standard of the country's health sector? Guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria will be providing answers to these questions and more shortly.
All right, thank you for that report. Now, joining us in the studio to, of course, do justice to this topic. First is Honorable Minister of State Health, Senator Olorunibe Mamora. So you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
He's also a consultant orthopedic surgeon. And of course, we have a consultant orthopedic surgeon and the MD Alliance Hospital Abuja, Dr. Chris Otabo. Dr. Otabo, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
And also joining us in this discussion this morning is Dr. Ibrahim Wada. He's the CEO, Nisa Premier, Gariki Hospital, Abuja. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And finally, we have with us Professor Emanuel Axme. He is the team leader for the conjoined twins operation surgery. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you this morning on this show. I can see smiles on your faces as medical professionals, you know, who have really attained a height that we're about to celebrate this morning by putting it into discussion. Well, we've heard about the development, and Nigerians are hailing the health sector for this achievement, especially those at the National Hospital. How do you feel about this development, Honorable Minister?
Well, expectedly, well, let me first say compliments of the season. It's not too late. Happy New Year to all of you here and our listeners out there. Naturally, we feel highly elated, a sense of accomplishment, and of course, the triumph of unity of purpose and team spirit. Because, and then of course, the what I call durability. That tells you that we have the competence in terms of personnel that can make the difference. And whatever that's been done outside the shores of Nigeria in the area of Medicare, we also have competent people that can do the same, given the right environment, the right support. And that's the message. So I want to really commend the team. And of course, I always emphasize that Medicare is a team event. It's not a solo event, because if you see the whole lot of those involved, across the health care, then you will understand, from the cardiothoracic to neonatal, team to nutritionist to name it, plastic, surgeons, nurses, pharmacists, just name it. It's a team. And I want to say congratulations to Nigeria and, of course, Nigerians as well.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I'd like to bring in Professor Emanuel Axme, who is the team leader for this surgery and operation. We know that there have been other feats that have been achieved at the National Hospital in terms of even heart surgery, being done there. But tell us, give us a sense of what this surgery was really all about. I learned that earlier on at the beginning when the twins were born, there was some form of request for referral, but you went ahead to get this done. So give us a sense of how it is.
Thank you very much. As you rightly said, so many different types of surgeries have been done successfully at National Hospital. Many don't come to limelight because we don't normally publicize things as doctors. But for these twins, the initial period was really very challenging because apart from concern from the parents, whether we had the capacity and capability to do the surgery, there were also concerns from outside and the pressure from outside on the parents for them to be referred elsewhere. But I think the important thing is that the parents kept trust in us and they were patient with us, and I think for us that was one of the aspects that helped us a lot. I remember the mother came to my office almost every other day to get reassurance, and she always asked, can this be done? Have you guys done this before? So I think that trust was very important for us.
Yes, indeed. And from the result, it does seem that the expertise exhibited by your team is quite commendable. And of course, you've now done it for the first time. That means you can do a second one and even more. And what is most interesting is the fact that you have the facilities and equipment to be able to carry out that successful surgery on co-joint twins. Now, let me come to Dr. Wada. These are very complex medical practices. And what did you think the medical professionals that handled that surgery went through, trying to separate conjoined twins, in the hearts and, of course, the abdomen?
I see it as a major achievement. I want to say hello, Nigerians, Happy New Year. This is one of your New Year gifts from medical practitioners. 10 years ago, at the National Hospital, we had a similar case, thereabout, but we couldn't do anything about it. Today, it's been done. What does it mean? Progress. It also means hope. And I have already, on my own, from my own point, I've written a letter already to the National Hospital to express my appreciation of the progress that has been made and the hope they've created for the country. Yes, conjoined twins can be joined anywhere, and we've all seen it in the head, in the chest, in the abdomen, at the back, depending on where they got stuck during the life inside the womb. And it gets more difficult the higher you go. Yeah, if it's in the head, the number of people you need to separate it is uncountable, and quite often people cannot survive separation like that. So I think a lot of work has gone in. A lot of professionals from nursing to different specialties in surgery and medicine and neonatology have all been called on board. I read that 78 or so people had something to do with this, all led by this very young man here. Very impressive. Before I leave the topic, I also want to remark that our nationals outside this country, whether it's in the United Kingdom, USA, or anywhere else, they don't come second in terms of abilities. And that whenever we live here, we leave Nigeria to seek medical care, it's people like Professor Amir that receive us there, And it shows one point. The Nigerian brain is a very solid brain and a very active brain, and it can be utilized here and anywhere in the world to create this kind of breakthrough. I'm very proud of you, Prof. Very.
All right, well, Prof, we'll come back to you as to, just as Dr. Wada had said, give us more insight into, the people and, who worked on this. But then let's get Dr. Wada's, Dr. Otto Bose view on this.
Good morning, Nigerians. Happy New Year. I'd like to start by congratulating the management of National Hospital and the team for a great feat. Based on records, this is the first that's been done in Nigeria, and it's a landmark achievement, and so much effort was put into it, as well as finances. I heard the chief medical director of National Hospital talking about what it cost. So it's not about the money, it's about the outcome. And having attained these thresholds, I believe that more will follow, because this is the problem we've had with this kind of thing in the past, where it's like a flash in the pan, 1, 2 is done, and then we go into limbo, either because of, maybe we have time to talk about the challenges, because of financial issues, and so on and so forth. So, but we want to encourage the management of National Hospital, and indeed other hospitals who are centers of excellence in their various fields, to sustain the tempo, because it's only when we do these things over and over again that we can create a pedigree, and the Nigerian public can trust us more instead of choosing to go abroad.
All right, Professor Emanuel Axme, just as I said earlier, give us more insight into this particular operation. The people had to, the team that you put together for this, and of course other successes that you have recorded at the National Hospital.
Thank you very much. It's from the first day that the twins came. Once we knew realized what we were dealing with, we put together a team that included our neonatal nurses. That was the first place that the twins were nursed. Their weight was lower than expected. As they had some ongoing infection, their intestine was popping out from their tummy. So our neonatal nurses and our neonatologists took very good care of them in the very first few hours and few days. And then our imaging scientists, our radiologists, did very extensive imaging evaluation to give us an idea of what exactly they were sharing. And when we got to know what they were sharing, we were a bit more comfortable with what surgery was going to be required. And then we needed to bring in our nutritionists. Their nutrition was a very important aspect because their requirement, their nutritional requirement was obviously more than normal. The mother had just had a cesarean section. She was not lactating well, so she couldn't breastfeed them. So our nutritionists and neonatologists had to sort out that, and the babies grew well. And part of the team also had to include our laboratory physicians and scientists, and then our anesthetists, which were going to be a very key part. Anesthesia for separation of conjoined twins is always a big challenge because nobody is sure how they were going to react to the various drugs that will be given. And but we had a very good team of pediatric anesthetists and the surgeons. So I'm a pediatric surgeon, and we have 3 of us, pediatric surgeons in National Hospital. We also needed to bring in the cardiothoracic surgeons because we were dealing with the chest and the heart also, and the plastic surgeons because for us, we are comfortable with creating big gaps in the body, but then covering it up is the job of the plastic surgeons. So our plastic surgeons had to come in. Our pharmacists were part of the team. Our physiotherapists, because the babies were in abnormal position, and once they were separated, they stayed in that position. The physiotherapists needed to do a lot of work to get them to become normal. And after surgery, again, that's one of the big critical aspects, because when they are together, they are able to function well, but it's difficult to predict how they will respond once they are apart. And after separation in the intensive care unit, our nurses there were excellent. Our intensive care physicians were excellent. They were able to take care of that. So that's the immediate team. Beyond that, the planning had to include others beyond the 78 procurement people, because we needed to take extensive time to get all the materials that we needed. So we needed to work with our procurement. Our engineers needed to be sure that all the equipment were functioning well, because we needed 2 operating rooms, not 1. And one of the important aspects is that usually when we do surgeries, we are operating on just 1 individual, on 1 operating table. But here we have 2 individuals. So the 1 operating table cannot take them properly. Usually the anesthesis, we need 1 anesthetic machine, but here you needed 2 anesthetic machines in 1 place. So all that, our engineers needed to sort out all that. So it was an extensive team, really beyond the 78. And I think what that demonstrated for us really was that beyond our usual interprofessional issues in the health sector, when we have a task, we can actually work excellently together.
I think you said it all, when you mentioned the departmental issues that take place. In some cases, people are so territorial that they don't want to cooperate. In fact, there's no doubt that the complexity of the surgical process that separated the 2 babies it requires actually the number of people that you are talking about that were engaged. But then 78 or even more in 1 incident, right, is huge. But perhaps because this is the first time the hospital is handling such a complex surgery, in the future, I'm sure that you will be in a position to trim down, because already you know what you are looking out for. Well, we thank you for that. Now, let's return to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, when we talk about this success recorded at the National Hospital, we also talk about equipment and facilities, because if anything lacked in the process of this surgery, there would have been a huge problem, right? Now, what does that tell us with respect to also equipping other hospitals, not just the National Hospital, but others in the country?
Yes, you're right. Incidentally, that's one of the mandates, if you like, given to us in the Ministry of Health by Mr. President, in terms of upgrading and revamping the equipment in the federal tertiary hospitals. Because don't forget that these are referral centers. That is, these centers are not ordinarily supposed to be handling the routine things, if you like. But unfortunately, we have a system, and that's one of the challenges in our system. There are a lot of, you have a cold case of malaria. It has no business going to teaching hospital, not even to general hospital. It can be handled at the primary care level. So, and I always make this point that the healthcare delivery is a pyramidal structure. But at the base of that pyramid is the primary health care. And it must be strengthened because it's the base, and you can't have a pyramid standing on its apex. It can only stand on its base. So that base has to be fortified. A lot of cases can be handled at that level. Then you move up to general hospital, the secondary care, and then the tertiary. So the National Hospital and the other teaching hospitals in the Federal Medical Center, they are the apex. So they are supposed to be referral centers. And when we get it right, we won't be having clogging. Because these centers, they get crowded because they are forced to attend to cases that ordinarily they need not attend to. They are supposed to be apical referral centers. And if they must, give the services expected of them, they need the wherewithal. And one of them is this equipment. And of course, don't forget that these equipment, they keep on changing. I mean, if you hold your ordinary handset now, you know what it was 10 years ago, even 2 years ago, So and that's why we're talking of a standardization, and you can always, get a new one, replace the old one, all that. So it's a continuous thing, and we must be in tune. That is what you ought to call the international best practices. And we are part of that, the global village. So we must key into what. And we are looking at that. And one of the options is this, PPP arrangement. Because government, in reality, does not have all the funds because of the competing interests, that must be taken care of. So the PPP options, we are inviting investors to come and invest. And then, of course, because it's cheaper, it's more convenient for people to have these services here in Nigeria rather than going over there, where it's a foreign environment, it's a strange environment, and they may not even be able to cope. Aside the medical thing, they are non-medical, accommodation and all that. But here, and we can do it. And I mentioned it, the doability spirit. That's probably one of the most important things to cherish in this fit by the National Hospital, that we can do it. But the question is, will we do it? There are two different things. But the spirit is there that we can do it. And what the personnel, professionals are saying, give us the tools. That's all. Give us the tools. Enabling environment. And that's what we need to do, and that's the challenge. We also, those of us are privileged to be in whatever position we are. This is what has been, it's been required. And in so doing, I also say that we must appreciate that all animals are equal, but the truth is some animals are more equal than others. So the health sector is more important. We must give it that pride of place if we want to move forward. That's the truth. Because if you're talking of human capital development, you are looking at health, you are looking at education. So we must give the resources required. That is the way it is.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Let's get the thoughts of Dr. Otto Bose. You also perform, open surgeries. Give us more insight or more sense of how important, just as Kieran had asked, the issue of equipment, because I know that for a lot of people, it's not as if they don't believe in Nigerian doctors. The question is always, do we have the equipment to do this operation?
Thank you. Let me start answering your question by something that happened 2 years ago. National Hospital organized for open heart surgery. They had admitted 7 patients in the ward. The night before the surgery, because they brought in experts that will come and join the local team to do the surgery. The night before the surgery, one of the technicians plugged the heart-lung machine directly into the wall, and the machine blew. It was supposed to be using a step down. The children were all on admission. National Hospital, the management was confused. They were calling all around the country. Nobody could give them a heart-lung machine. They said, someone told them, call Alliance Hospital. So Dr. Adamu, who was the head of cardiothoracic unit, called me and said, Dr. Tabo, this is the problem. I said, you can come and have a heart-lung machine. And they, of course, did the surgery successfully. I mean, as a show of appreciation, the CMAC of the hospital led the team of the consultant to come and pay a thank you visit to Alliance Hospital. That's just an example of collaboration. And the Honorable Minister talked about public-private partnership. And I think that the government, starting from the top, would need to understand that government cannot do it alone. That patriarchal system where it's we and we being the macho should be dropped. and they should look for ways of collaborating with the private sector to deliver health care to the people. Last year alone, we did 20 kidney transplants, over 20. So an average of one a month. We did 16 open heart surgeries. We did about 60 joint replacement surgeries in Alliance Hospital. You don't have that commonly in teaching hospitals. And there are also other centers of excellence, private settings in the country, okay? But it appalls me when I see on TV, maybe not you, some other sister stations, people are always on TV talking about getting help to go abroad. I'm wondering, what are they going to do? We have the expertise here, we have the results here. We need to communicate more of what we are doing so that people can know that we have what it takes, what it is that they are looking for outside. We have it here, and we are having excellent results, very excellent results. This conjoint twin separation is just one of them. There are many other results. We did a Bental procedure in November. The aorta of a young engineer was ballooned 3 times its size. It's going to rupture. That's the major blood vessel that takes blood out of the heart to spread to the other parts of the body. It's found in patients with Marfan syndrome. So the young man was admitted. He didn't have money to go out. And so we took out from that open heart surgery, we took out 8 centimeters of the ascending aorta and replaced it with a graft and redirected the coronary artery. 9 hours operation. The guy is back to work. That's as big as open heart surgery can be anywhere in the world. But done here and with good results. So we have centers. The president's son, when he had the accident, he was operated in a private hospital in this country, and he did well. So Nigerians must realize that there are brilliant centers. But the problem is that people don't know where to go because it's easy to fall into the hands of charlatans. And that's why the National Health Act stipulated that hospitals must be classified. And I think the Federal Ministry of Health must awaken to this responsibility to classify hospitals according to their abilities and capabilities and let it be in the public knowledge. What can this hospital do? Nisa Premier is doing a great job. I mean, international best practice in his own area of interest. People need to be able to go and check, even review hospitals, review the doctors, look at what are the incidences they've had, what's their result like. But everybody is just, both the good, the bad, the ugly is mixed up in the crowd except you know someone who has been treated. That's the only way you can follow suit to go seek care there. But if you don't know anybody, the tendency is for you to fall into the wrong hands, and then the general perception that Nigerian healthcare is bad. I think we must change that trajectory.
Yes, changing the trajectory has to do with some actions on the part of government and, of course, the private sector. And that's why I'm coming to you, Dr. Wada. How can the PPP, be facilitated to make impact in the health sector? Now, we have seen how collaboration with the private sector can yield results. Yes. So what is the mechanism required to be able to achieve this? Because one, classification of hospital is very important, because it's only in Nigeria that we cannot have, so this hospital is for heart surgery. In other climes, you have designated hospitals for specific ailments, right? Especially, terminal, ailments. So how can this be possible in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Good question. I think the Honorable Minister of State has actually hit the nail on the head by saying public-private partnership is the fastest way that our country can realize the potentials of its healthcare. I have run a PPP program with the government at the Garke Hospital for 12 years, and I want to use that as an example to tell you that actually we don't have a choice. It's just that we don't know. And thank God you are here, sir. Reality is, we took over that hospital like a rundown place. Nobody was coming there. It had been closed for 6 years. Within 5 years, we had perfected a general hospital standard and had the confidence to say, look, now we can do what Nigerians are running abroad for. Heart surgeries, kidney transplant, in vitro fertilization is not done in any general hospital in our country. We introduced all those within 5 years, and it started moving. However, the realization that, the issues about is it too expensive, is it too this and that came in, and the partnership, the effort that should be contributed with a convinced government to make it easier for the populace to access that and develop these tertiary practices within that system didn't sustain, unfortunately. But we accept it because that was the first PPP in this country. We settled to the fact that the lessons must never be lost on this country. So all the details are there. Faster investment, purposeful investment, efficiency, rapid projection of the healthcare, rapid integration of the professional cadres too, because the sense of purpose in that kind of privately controlled setting is it's the patient. It's not about the doctors or nurses. It's about achievement. So I see it as a veritable arm to move the entire Nigerian healthcare process fast forward and help the government to achieve what her duties are to the populace, that of helping us whenever our health fails.
Dr. Wada, let's talk about medical tourism. That's part of what we're discussing now, but then let's really look into it now. Let's focus on it. The money spent by Nigerians annually is almost about $1 billion, US dollars yearly. By more than that, but at least you can 60% of these patients require cardiology, renal dialysis. These are really lucrative areas of investment under PPP. How can we take advantage of this market in Nigeria? How can we?
Well, I think we can, in a sense that I think the federal government has understood that they can co-locate private investments in public sector. It's the beginning. So government doesn't have to do everything in those hospitals. They can separate standard ones that they know people are running abroad for and co-locate them with private investors so that our people can have the care at home. I think that is the plan, and I think it should be encouraged. The second part is, even if Nigerians were going abroad for care and other nationals were coming to Nigeria for care, that's a good balance. Because let's not deceive ourselves. You cannot stop it. 1 million Americans leave America every year for care in Singapore, India, and all that. Where is it going to stop? Let's not believe that someday we'll wake up, nobody will go abroad again. That won't happen. However, our practice, and I don't even want to call the name, we attract people from abroad almost every year, comfortably. I think last year about 80 people came from the UK, US, Europe to come and get treatment in Nigeria. And that's what we must also try to expand. To the extent that if people can come and have IVF, fertility treatments from UK or US in Nigeria, if people can come because they have sickle cell anemia, they want to do pre-implantation diagnosis that's select because both are AS and they are coming home to do that, it's a moment of pride for the country. So
earlier on you said IVF isn't done in general hospitals. Why?
Because of its complexity, there's no general hospital doing it apart from Garki Hospital, which is a PPP. Teaching hospitals, yes, but no secondary level. Garki is the first. Why? Because we invested in it and trained the people and made it to work. And it's still there, it's still working. So that's one of the complex, not surgeries, but medical practices that wasn't commonly available in this country until a few years ago. Now it's everywhere. Thank God for that. Now it's everywhere.
Okay, thank you. You've just mentioned a very crucial point here, and that's the teaching hospitals, which are supposed to be centers of excellence in terms of medical practice, and also provides teaching and learning of medical practice for medical students in different institutions. Now, Honorable Minister, before we come to you, Professor Amir, are you thinking the direction of elevating teaching hospitals across the nation? Because if you take a trip to one, you will appreciate the fact that, look, when it comes to facilities or equipment, well, I wouldn't say zero, but of course it's insufficient. All right. So, is there any plan, or policy of the federal government at the moment to see how teaching hospitals can be uplifted from the present position?
Well, yes. Let me just take a cue from my friend here. He mentioned something which is instructive. It will be a delusion to think that at some point medical tourism will be zero. No, I mean, that's not being realistic. The truth is that people will go to where they think they can get what they need. That's just the human nature, right? But the question to ask is, was Nigeria not enjoying medical tourism by other nationals before? We were. University College of Ibadan. People were coming from all over in times past. Yes. But what happened? We embarked on a journey of decline. That was what happened. We were just going down. So, the issue is now for us to get back on track. And then we will also benefit. People will be coming. Yes. If, that's a big if, we're able to get it right. People want to go to hospital and think they are in 5-star hotel and still get all the services. So it's not just even the issue of equipment. You want the environment, the ambience, then the workers, who may not even be medical workers, attitude. Yes. Attitude. You don't want a situation where, and this is not very common in the public sector generally. And that's one of the reasons why the public, sector tends to do better. Just, a cleaner is working as if he's doing a favor to the organization. These are things that we need to deal with, and deal with very, very squarely. That if you are there, you must show presence that you are there and do what you are expected to do, not waiting to be pushed around and all that. Of course, like I said, and that's one of the reasons why the private sectors tend to excel, because they will not allow that kind of rubbish. If you're a cleaner, if you are whatever, you must do what you're supposed to do. And that is the work ethics, the attitude, the commitment, these are things. And ordinarily, you see, the role of government ordinarily is regulatory, essentially. Regulatory and enforcement. Then the other things, so that's why you just leave the system for other things. But in terms of regulation, in terms of enforcement, these are things that we need to do. So we can, I believe we can, if we get it right, do the right things, put the environment the way it should be. The support services are there. That may not even be medical. You want to have a 24-hour energy supply, preferably renewable energy, water supply, clean environment, the bed sheets are changed. You don't want to go into a place and see rats running around. These are things that will put anybody off. Or you want to see bed bugs somewhere. These are things. The more of what we need to do, they are not even in terms of medical per se. More of other, support services, if you like. You want to see the bed, clean sheets and all that, not white looking like brown. These are realities. These are things that we need to do. And we need to face these things squarely and decide that, no, we must do it. We were doing it before. UCH, Luz, this, Abu, this, we were doing these things before. But like I said, somehow, somewhere, we
went down. So how do you raise them again, especially the teaching hospitals? How do you bring them back on track?
There is no magic about it. It's a conscious decision. conscious decision that, no, not again. We need to get serious here. That's just, there is no magic. You know, the management, the involved, the system, in everybody, you know, that's just the thing. The right caliber of people, the right attitude, the right environment. So I think we just, there's no magic. You know, change what you need to change, put in place what you need to put in place, and then, of course, monitor appropriately, you know, apply sanctions where you need to. These are things we need to do. Just get serious.
All right, thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Let's go to the issue of funding in two aspects. One is funding of the health sector in Nigeria, and then we'll also look at, first of all, let's begin with Dr. Amir, Professor Amir. This was a surgery that cost a lot. First of all, I'd like you to give us a sense of the cost of this surgery, and we're aware that the parents paid nothing for this. It was done free of charge. And is it something that when it happens to an average family or a poor family in Nigeria, looking at the cost, would they be able to afford it?
Thank you. I think so funding is one of the very serious gaps in our health sector. As the CMD pointed out, well over 20 million was spent on the care of these children, and they are still trying to compile everything that was spent. Even for a rich family, to take out 20 million and spend on that is a problem. And it doesn't need to be complex surgery. A surgery as common as cesarean section, as common as an appendix surgery, can take a family in Nigeria into poverty. That's how important and difficult funding is. And I think one of the things that we have to do, as you may know, more than 90% of our people will have to pay out of pocket for any medical care they need. Our insurance system covers just a very small population. And in many countries where people are going for health care, most of the people there are covered by healthcare insurance. A country as small as Rwanda, more than 90% of them, of the population, are covered properly by insurance. So families don't need to bother, no matter how complex the condition is. They don't need to bother about how much they are going to pay. They are going to be taken care of. And that money from insurance is one of the areas where our hospitals can get proper funding to be able to provide the equipment. I'll give you an example. Several years ago, when the government, through the VAMED project, decided to equip hospitals, I used to work in Zaria. Our theaters were bad. But after that project, when you entered the theater, everybody was ready to work because of just the change in environment. Previously, when it is 4 o'clock, everybody say, well, it's too late, we can't continue, and then all the other surgeries are cancelled. But when that was done, everybody was willing to stay there for as late as possible. We operated late into the night just because of a simple change in the way the place was structured. Care was everywhere was clean, equipment were modern. You were happy when you entered the place. But that's a lot of money. And that's where it's anywhere in the world, except in Europe. There's nowhere in the world where government really provides all the healthcare that is needed. In the US, most of the hospitals that people are going to in India, they are all private hospitals or public-private partnership. It's difficult for government to fund everything completely.
Health financing actually is a very important aspect of health delivery, and of course some experts have described Nigeria's health financing system as an out-of-pocket health financing mechanism which has never augured well for the nation. And again, 59 years after independence, Nigeria's health sector is grappling with the issue of basic health services to be provided for a teeming population such as Nigeria. And I'm coming to Dr. Otto here before we take some of the tools we have received already. Give us an idea of what can be done, to properly, turn things around in the health sector. I raised the issue of the state of teaching hospitals with the Honorable Minister. And of course, if you go there, it is an eyesore in some cases, just like you have already raised, when you were in Zaria. What can be done? Because if Rwanda, you mentioned, can do it well, we can do it better.
Thank you very much for the question. If you want to know whether the government can help the situation, look at the budget trajectory, even for 2020. Majority of the money that is earmarked for healthcare, Ministry of Health in the 2020 budget is to pay salaries. And so very little is left for CAPEX, capital expenditure. So if you are expecting any turnaround from that budget, you're just simply wasting your time. It's never going to happen. Okay, so how did other climes, how did they get financing for their healthcare? Like the professor said, almost 9 out of 10 people that leave the shores of this country for healthcare abroad, they go to private hospitals. If you go to a government hospital in India for healthcare, you would have to bribe a nurse to get a clean bed sheet. Rats, like the Honorable Minister said, will be running around. So it's pretty much the same as we have in, or even worse, than in our government hospitals. But they've been able to carve a niche for themselves, seeing healthcare as a business, create the right environment, the right ambience. When you get to a hospital in India, you think that you're in a 5-star hotel. So that has attracted people from all over the world. Nigeria being a large exporter of healthcare to India. That's what we are saying. It's obvious the government cannot do it or do it alone. But the least that is expected of government is to give the moral support for public-private partnership. During the National Health Summit that I held in November last year, I had the honor of presenting a paper on public-private partnership. So I did a lot of research, and it's still at the babyhood stage in Nigeria. But there's a department in the Federal Ministry of Health in charge of PPP. That department should be the most important department right now, because we need to woo the private sector, either to come into the existing hospitals to bring about significant change, or start something afresh. Government can provide land as their equity, and then we have private equity investors who will come in and build a 500-bed hospital. If you have that in 5 places across the country, you have already nipped medical tourism. So the idea of seeing the private people as enemies of the people should stop. Do you know that at the moment, many of my patients that we do big things for in Alliance Hospital, they come from National Hospital and some other hospitals, but they dare not say that they should give them referral to a private hospital. It will never happen, because I don't know whether it's a written law or unwritten. The people who have to tell National Hospital that I'm going abroad before they give them letter, and then they turn around and come to Alliance Hospital. Why? Because there's this seeming rivalry between the government setting and the private setting, as though we are competing. Many people, when their MRI fails, they come to our place to do MRI and CT scan. So, but why that rivalry must stop? There must be an embrace. There must be a handshake between the government and the private sector. That's the way out.
Dr. Wada, you want to say something?
Really, I said my appeal to the government and people of Nigeria is make health insurance work for us so that we don't have to go and pay, whether in a private hospital or in a government hospital. Health is all we have. It's everything we have. So the slow attitude to health insurance is what is causing the discordance. If I'm carrying a health insurance, it doesn't matter whether National Hospital, if they don't have what I want, they are quite free to send me to another hospital because money is not involved. So we must address the issue of access to health. And the best way to address that, whether it's in England or America or anywhere, is that each and every one of us chips in. I have an idea, and that is if we can't do it for the 200 million that are existing right now. Let us even start a program that says if you are a born Nigerian citizen from this date on, you will be covered. Your parents will be expected to chip in. So in 10, 15 years and 20 years, we can hope to have 100% cover. We don't have to deceive ourselves by saying all at once. It's not possible because we are too many. But at least we can segment it. Pregnant mothers must be insured. Children born must be insured. School age, and so on as we go on. There must be a way that Nigerians don't have to cry out loud about medical expenses so that our medicine can catapult. And I know it will beat many other nations.
Honorable Minister,
well, you see, the health insurance is still one of the best ways to fund health, because the issue is funding, and health insurance is still one of the best ways. And of course, it has to be made compulsory, so that we can then have a big chunk, a large chunk of people covered, and then benefit from that. Then, of course, the allocation to the health sector too is important. As at now, what is allocated is not good enough. That's the truth, And then the partnership is always there. And when I say partnership, and of course collaboration, we could say federal collaborating with the states, and of course the local governments under the states also needs to work together. And of course we have our development partners that we also work with. They assist us one way or the other, because we are moving now into the universal health coverage. And you talk of universal health coverage. Universal health coverage. What does it involve? We are saying access by all, because we are saying universal, and particularly the vulnerable groups, the pregnant mothers, the children, the aged, the physically challenged, vulnerable groups. So it's an issue of access, affordability, quality, and of course in all the areas, either in terms of health promotion, treatment, palliative, just name it.
Honorable Minister, there's indeed a lot to do in this direction if what Dr. Wada said can be achieved in this climb, because health insurance scheme, like you said, is delayed or something, but we've tried something like that in the past, right? And when you go to hospitals, that they will tell you that what is the only malaria that is covered, that they cannot, if you have appendectomy, then it's not going to be covered. So if you have time, we can talk about this, in the course of this program. For now, many Nigerians are beginning to participate in the program by way of, sending tweets. But before we do that, let's take a short break. When we get back, we'll begin with the tweets from Nigerians who are also part of this conversation.
You're welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Now, just as Kiran had said earlier before the break, that we have your tweets. Those of you who have been tweeting at our Twitter handle, we have your questions, your suggestions, and your comments here with us, and we'll read them now. And also, if you also want to participate, you have questions for the Minister of State Health and the doctors that are here, you have comments, you have suggestions, the right place is our Twitter handle at NTAGMN. Now let's take the first one. It's from Chris Simeon. He says the health sector should be one of the sectors government must give priority and attention to. Health is wealth in a society. If the health sector malfunctions, people's lives are in jeopardy.
Right. Delejak Solomon says the successful separation of the conjoined sisters is a testimony that God has blessed Nigerians with the intellectual faculties to perform rare and difficult exploits to the surprise of the world. It's now glaring that what we need in Nigeria is the enabling environment. Government must provide this.
Ahmed Mohammed says Nigeria is blessed with many talents, and the only problem is that we have a lack of commitment from government to help them discover their potentials. If our leaders equip our hospitals, medical trips will be a thing of history.
Now, Steve Bond 007 says that if only hospitals were well equipped, doctors will do more exploits. Nigerian doctors are the best in the world.
And this one is from Utolo Sunday. It says, this is a great feat in the health sector, and they can only do more if the needed facilities are put in place. Congratulations to them all.
Yes, before him there was Uche Gabriel, who says the successful separation of the conjoined twins is a testimony that God's blessed Nigeria. Well, I think we have taken that. It's a repeat of what he brought it back. Okay, from Adejimo Paul Olubumi, he said, I heard that in the 60s and 70s, the Saudi royal family attends University of Ibadan Teaching Hospital for medical checkup. Where is that glory today? Nigeria continues to suffer brain drain. I wish the National Assembly is investing in the health sector.
And this one is from Titus Monday Knock. He says, Nigerian medical personnel are incredibly gifted and intelligent and will perform wonders and exploit if given the right tools, environment, and incentives.
Mike Anyako says, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. Breakthrough in our health system is a very welcomed development. This will go a long way in spurring young health professionals to greater excellence and curb their exodus to foreign lands. It will also encourage private individuals to invest in the health sector.
And this one is from Amogola Babs. He says there are two takeaways from the successful separation of the co-joint twins. He says, first, that Nigeria is indeed blessed with human capacity that can compete with their counterparts the world over. Secondly, Nigerians can actually stop medical tourism with the attendant capital flight.
Now, from Ibrahim Wada, funds budgeted for health isn't enough. If and only when we equip our healthcare centers with the state-of-the-art facilities and graduating quality students from our universities, we will never get our healthcare system right. Kudos to the surgery team for the breakthrough.
Abdul says we need Nigeria's healthcare systems. We need systems that are adequate and modern, that have modern working tools and remuneration for health workers. We have brain drains that can compete. We have brains that can compete perfectly in any part of the world.
Well, Francis Obi, congratulations for the noble achievement, but to encourage government to pay attention to good quality healthcare and hospitals so that nobody should be allowed to go abroad for medical treatment. You just can't do that one. Some people have the financial muscle to do that.
And this one is from Baron. He says it's a very great achievement in Nigeria's medical system.
All right. From Akeju Labuju, the crops of medical intellectuals available are capable of greater feat. It was earlier done in FMC Yola and Teaching Hospital at Ife. If the hospitals are provided with the right equipment, encouragement, and infrastructure, it will go a long way to save Nigerians.
Quite a lot of tweets. We still have some. It says, this one is from Ayola Adeni Tahud. He says, if our hospitals were well equipped with modern equipment, our doctors will be the best in the world. Government needs to be more proactive on the health sector because of the health challenges.
Yes, and from Comrade Ngala, we have professionals and qualified doctors in Nigeria that can work anywhere in the world, but we lack facilities in our hospitals.
Mr. Bings, Mohammed, at Mohammed 5833, says the separation of the co-joint twin babies in Nigeria is a good development for our national health system, but there are still many issues in terms of healthcare in Nigeria, starting from the budget of health for this year. It is not enough for the health sector.
Mohammed Mustafa, we are proud of Nigerian doctors anywhere they are in the globe, and congratulations to the team that successfully separated conjoined children at the hospital.
And let's take this one from Joseph. Joseph says, good morning, Nigeria. As the Honorable Minister said, we can achieve it when when MDs and personnel are not contractors, where you have a consultant bypassing his hospital's personal business, waiting to be called for his official assignment. That is not good.
Okay, did we leave out Sani Michael Omakoji? I'm not surprised at the successful conjoined twins by Nigerian doctors, because that are endowed and have the mental capacity to deliver. However, our problem is that our leaders who are supposed to patronize and encourage these doctors rather choose to patronize medical tourism. That's about it all. We have a great number of tweets this morning, an indication that many Nigerians are interested in this topic. Now, as we are about to round off this edition of the program, let's get final thoughts from our guests. First, with the successful Professor Amir.
Thank you very much. One of the things that happened a few years ago in 2015 was the World Health Assembly passed a resolution mandating member countries to incorporate surgical and anesthesia care into their universal health coverage activities, because there's no way any country can achieve universal health coverage without improving access to surgical care. And we worked with the Federal Ministry of Health to create what we call a National Surgical Obstetrics, Anesthesia and Nursing Plan. This was launched by the government last year, sometime in May last year. And most of what we have discussed in terms of how to address some of the issues, funding and all that, were all captured in that plan and how to move forward for the next 5 years. I'm hoping that the Ministry of Health will begin to implement that plan soon. I'm not sure. The World Bank is very interested in it, and they're actually trying to decide. I had a meeting, teleconference yesterday with a group with the World Bank, and they are trying to identify a few countries in Africa where they can begin to pilot implementation of these national surgical plans. I think that if we begin to, we have a lot of documents in the Ministry of Health that are not being implemented. Excellent plans, and I hope that if we are able to implement this national surgical plan, it should help in a long way in addressing all the issues. Getting the private sector and the public sector to work together was one of the key things that we discussed in that plan.
Is the hospital working with any international healthcare foundations?
So this wasn't between the hospital and the Ministry of Health. It was between surgical societies and anesthesia societies and the Ministry of Health. And we are working together with a few academic institutions in the US. But then we need, it's owned by the Ministry of Health. We need the Ministry of Health to kickstart the implementation of that plan.
Dr. Otabo, Nigeria has one of the highest number of medical professionals in the diaspora. How can we benefit from this? How can we stop this exodus?
Well, we have to get it right at home, because there are push and pull factors. There are factors that are pushing Nigerian doctors outside, and then outside there are factors that are pulling them to Europe. With the Brexit, we are going to have far more Nigerian young doctors leaving, doctors that were trained with Nigerian money. We have to get it right at home. And to get it right at home, you cannot solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. There must be a change in the mindset. The government has a responsibility. We are not saying government should bring out money, because we know that they don't have the money. But they must collaborate genuinely, not just lip service, with the private sector to tackle tertiary healthcare. Why the primary healthcare should be strengthened, because if you get it right with primary healthcare, many cases will not get to tertiary healthcare level. For instance, those heart cases that are so bad, if people were taking their antihypertensives and they treat infections early, their heart valves will not be damaged for it to require open heart surgery. Liver transplant will not be necessary if people know how to avoid alcohol, treat hepatitis, those basic things. So government can stay on the primary healthcare level and play. But when it comes to tertiary healthcare, they must realize that government does not have the capacity to sustain improvement at that level, and they need to collaborate with private healthcare, who will bring in the efficiency and the funding, okay, while government will bring in the goodwill. With that, I think that we can have a way forward in our healthcare system. We, of course, backed up with insurance.
And Honorable Minister, take it from where he stopped with respect to what can be done to reverse the trend. He has already raised some very pertinent, issues.
Well, yes, I want to agree with Dr. Tabo. I must also say, like I said before, we need to get serious. We must be serious and tell ourselves the home truth that, look, this is the way to go, and we will be willing to do that. Strengthening the primary health is very important. And like you rightly said, I mean, I was reading a study that says that over 60% of pregnant mothers in Nigeria, they suffer from anemia, and usually it's nutritional in origin, in iron deficiency, and it shouldn't be. And that in itself, it can result in the baby being compromised right from the womb. So it's important, and these are things that can be done at the level of the primary health care. I mean, because if you have functional primary health centers, there is what we call minimum service package, and one of which is antenatal care. We have very high figures in terms of infant mortality and maternal mortality, and we need to reduce this. And it starts from that level. We need to deal with immunization, particularly vaccine-preventable diseases. We need to deal with water supply. If you have potable water supply to all, that in itself can reduce the disease burden to a very high percentage, almost about 60%. Because the things we are dealing with, the diarrhea disease and all that, if these are things, we should not be talking of polio and all the. Well, happily, we will be exiting, hopefully,
sometimes we exit and return.
So we need to get serious. We need to take this things, and we need to do collaboration. We need to do our partnership, effectively, and of course openly, and with good.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Dr. Wada, your final thoughts. Take within the fact that most of these hospitals we're talking about for hearts, like Alliance Hospital, yours, and some others that are few, are just concentrated within Abuja, Lagos. What about other states?
Yes. Well, it's a gradual thing, because the kind of infrastructure, power supply, security apparatus that will secure this level of practice, especially when also Nigerian brains come from abroad to join us. It's those big cities that can house them for now until things improve around. But if, in terms of final things to say, I mean, there are two pillars here. One is the expanding the health insurance base towards universal coverage. The second one is public-private partnership for efficiency. Like I said, no one can solve Nigeria's problems but Nigerians. Also, I'm convinced that the kind of gift in terms of intellectual capacity and brain that the Almighty has given to Nigerians is not short of any other group of people in the world. So we must encourage ourselves to do good at home. I think that the public-private partnership experience at Garki, which is 12 years old, and I'm convinced that is a very, very good example, needs to be studied by both government and the private sector. The details are there, and we should not throw the baby and away with the bathwater. There is a lot to learn there. It's Nigerians that did it from nothing to something. What is good in it, we must be courageous to learn from it.
Yes,
and that will fast forward care around the country as well.
Yes, maybe another platform will also discuss the issue of funding when it comes to PPP-run hospitals, because of course not many Nigerians can afford to even
insurance comes in. Insurance, no Nigerian should be asked to pay. We have to start from that basis.
All right, sir. At this point, gentlemen...
Except they don't have the power.
Yes, so we have to conclude this edition of the program, but we believe that in due course that we need to also assemble these professional gentlemen here for another topic on health care. And so at this point, Minister of State Health, Senator Lornibe Mamora, we'd like to appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much
for coming. And of course, consultant orthopedic surgeon and the MD Alliance Hospital, Dr. Chris Otabo. We thank you. And of course, we want to also appreciate all you've been doing to assist government-owned hospitals to do their business. Thank you indeed.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, consultant Dr. Ibrahim Wada, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, right. And of course, a team leader for the very successful separation of conjoined twins in the person of Professor Amir. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Next is sports.